Hi Libra, my apologies in advance. I had hell of the time recording your reading. This is the third attempt and it is something happening, so I'm anticipating that you might have 9th and 10th of the month some Mercury Retrograde issues. So my apologies for being a little bit cut off. It was just your video this time, but this is possibly Mercury Retrograde talking to us. So let's jump right in. So let's discover why this card showed up. Clearly there's like something that is going to come back, pull certain things back, something that you felt you have released. It's maybe going down its path, going down its way, but this card usually indicates return, a new appearance of some sort. And I guess when we get all the other cards, we are going to figure a little bit more out about it. Look, you have another card about leaving, but this is leaving with apprehension. I always consider the swords very telling over here in this card. Look at it. Look at those big eyes, and hopefully look at this. It's anticipation, but it's also fear, but yet our inner child, or the ones that we protect, are not experiencing the same. But look at this chariot over here, somebody taking us there. So we might have a help of a friend, or we will have a direction that we need to kind of like take things, and it's going to be a good direction. Interestingly, the chariot is really next, and two cards came reversed over here, being this next. So it tells me that maybe the arrival on the next shore is not guaranteed as much as we thought. So it keeps giving me a reoccurring theme, which is very similar to the previous reading. Something is in motion, and something we are kind of like counting the chickens that they're just hatched, right? You know what they say. So 9 of Cups, it's overwhelming, good situation. You feel pampered. You feel things are going well. Your things, you know, are going to resolve really in kind of like a good form, with kind of like all these good attitudes, etc., etc. This is a really good card. It's an emotionally really strong place to be. And this is crossed with a Knight of Cups, and this is like the knight in the shining armor. So whether or not, guys, maybe you have somebody in your life, maybe somebody who is flirty or you want to flirt with, it's kind of like interesting situation. You kind of like want to go there, but this is not a committal stage yet. This is still talking about let's explore kind of a thing. Whether or not you're in a serious relationship, sometimes we always shift the phase, shift the gears. Let's go first, second, third, fourth, fifth, right, or sixth, depending on which car or what kind of like mate you have. So if you are single and if you're looking for somebody, you are looking for somebody from a really good place. Sometimes people look out of desperation and looking for solutions to the problems, and they find exactly that solution of the problem at the time, and it all works until the problem is solved. And when the problem gets solved, something new happens where maybe this person is not adequate because really didn't connect on a soul level. So this tells me this is all good. You're kind of like dealing from that emotional center where you feel, hey, you know, things are really going well. So whether or not you are in a relationship, or if you're just looking for somebody, both of them is really, really good. So there it goes. We are repeating it over here, but this is like upright right now. So you do have destination in mind. You do, like, I'm just picking up on a really big enthusiasm, on a really kind of like big impression that you really expect things to happen. And most likely because, like, you have a 9 and 3, the stage is like about, maybe you're being pampered. Maybe you feel you need to meet somebody who is going to give you that appreciation, and maybe somebody who is going to understand how the things look like from your little point of view, how your world looks like, right? We all can see the same scene, but we are going to all experience it differently. So in the past, there's like something that started, right? Something that you really want to build toward long term. This is a really good card. It is my favorite ace. So some process started, but this is going to take a while for this process to complete. It's really interesting that we have like 1 and 9. Well, that's because you're Libra. Like, Libras don't necessarily have century to wait. You're like air sign. You want things to kind of like evolve, even in emotional matters, you still kind of like want to have certain concepts concept and certain motion toward somewhere where you really want to be. What is above you? And you have like the Six of Wands reversed. So this is like that winner card kind of a thing. It came reversed. So why is this card kind of like shaking it up? Something again is really going nicely, but maybe something is running in one of those, let's call them obstacles. It's interestingly when it reverses, it's making a 9, and 9s are generally talking about certain things need to be redefined. Maybe you need to go to the next level with somebody. Maybe this honeymoon stage needs to be over. Maybe you need to get off your butt to actually date somebody because you dream about a mate but you're doing nothing about it. It clearly tells me like, right, like things are upside down. So you also maybe understanding that in relationship and in life the best position is win-win versus, oh, I'm kind of serving my needs and heck with everybody else. Imminently ahead of you is Five of Cups, and this is a really interesting card, right? You heard me saying, okay, the milk is spilled, but you're not looking at what is not spilled. And why is that? Because somehow this meant so much to this kitty. The fact that, you know, maybe you have collected, maybe you have worked for something. It's interesting that 5 and 1 are contrasting each other, which is kind of like going back to the Lover's card. It's talking about in which direction do I take this? How do I take this? How do I go about this? Imminently, it's going to feel that there's like something that you're concerned about. You think that, and I'm picking this up all the time, and look at it, this is your card. 6 and 5 is 11, and this is like Justice card, and Justice is one of my karma cards and also resonates with Libra very much. So there is like something, there's an approach that is not fully balanced, and you know your sign is always about creating this balance. You're never in balance. You're always trying to figure it out, kind of like how to get there. Sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's easier if they're like really small vibrations, right? So emotional ups and downs are really happening quite a bit of the time. Maybe you guys are dating a Sagittarius or somebody who could be a foreigner, somebody who maybe not necessarily come from the same walk of life that you're coming from, somebody who might be older, somebody you might be learning from, that kind of like sort of things. And certain things really need to karmically balance out. Maybe this person is right for you, but you need a certain adjustment. Maybe you know, you need to adjust for this person, or kind of like situation here is happening. So this is your house, and then we have Knight of Swords. So now we have 2 knights, and knights are again going back to the Chariot, right? Chariot is ruling all knights, and also we have the 6. So now we have 2 6s and then a little bit hidden 6. There's like something karmic that has been happening, right? On one hand, you want to move on from some experience, something that is really weighing heavily on your mind. Maybe you want to go to the better life, right? You want to win. But it's not about winning, and there is going to be that repositioning, and it's going to be some kind of like speaking up. You're clearly focused on your goals. Whenever I see Knight of Swords, there's like something that is going in that direction, and that direction is extremely important, right? So this is also about communicating your needs, and if this kind of comes in connection with something maybe that happens, maybe a roadblock in a relationship or a work, maybe you didn't get promotion of some sort, I'm still picking up lots of these things is going to happen before we enter what I call the dark zone, the 9th and the 10th of this month, right? Where, you know, certain things really need to kind of like clarify to get to that point. So your environment is 2 of Swords, which is also resonating with that 11 that I told you, which I see over here, right? So it's interestingly, Justice card is sometimes 11 and sometimes is 8, and I see 6 and 5 11 and 5 and 3 and 8. So kind of like it's covering like both ends. So this card, she's blindfold, one of the 2 cards in this entire deck. Look at how many more cards I have. Like, I mean, the other one is like 8 of Swords, where we have the blindfold kind of like creature on it. And not only is she blindfold, but she's walking this tightrope. So we are here talking about the crescent moon, which she maybe cannot really experience, right? So what are we talking about here? We're talking around the 23rd of the month that some shift might happen. Maybe it's a decision time. Maybe you are trying to contribute to this decision and see how things will work out. This is again connecting to this Chariot, something you feel needs to kind of like keep moving forward. But this feels that there's like something hidden. Maybe there's like something that it could be also hidden agendas. Whenever you see Two of Swords, like, I mean, you have the swords, which is really good. You are like, I mean, air sign after all, right? So it's normal that swords are showing up, but swords can sometimes also signify conflict, even though in your case, I mean, when you see the mirroring of the cards, right? So this one was just a cover underneath. The mirror of the cards of the Six of Swords and Two of Swords. So one is showing, like, I want to move forward, as you can see it moving there, but this one is coming back, right? We see that theme all along. This one is also like something went in a ditch, somebody's stopping, somebody's pressing on the brakes for one reason or another. So this is your hopes and fears. And we have another swords, and this is kind of like my wash machine brain, as I call it, this card. Have you ever been in a situation where, you know, you have this swirling thoughts and they just keep going and going and going, and they're like not stopping for one reason or another, right? And they're not stopping because you're anticipating something might happen. So your fear is, and like this is hopes and fears. So what is to hope in the situation that everything stops? You want things to stop. You want whatever is in your head to kind of like be assessed differently. This can sometimes address somebody lying. This can sometimes address literally being confined. It can be even imprisonment if you wish, right? Or somebody leaving, or somebody letting you down for one reason or another, right? It could be about the exchange of words of some sort, but it also could be about a situation that you really cannot do much about. It's kind of a thing that keeps you up at night. It's kind of a thing that you really want to find a solution, not sure really how to do it. And then you have another two, and this is Two of Pentacles. Something is being juggled, whether or not, I mean, it's kind of weird. It looks like that maybe on one end, the things are really going well. On the other hand, there are things that are questionable. There are things that are going to be called to be reassessed, to be readjusted. Maybe somebody is going to ask you to clarify something. So it's very important to kind of like look at in kind of like from that eyes, from that perspective, right? I have also pulled two more cards here for you that I just really wanted to see how they will connect with the rest of the reading. And there is like this isolation card, which I'm clearly seeing it over here. And there is this trickery card, which I can see here and here, that is like really coming through. So where do I start here first? Let's go with the trickery, right? So here we see this big acorn over here that the dragon really has. So the squirrel is saying, hey, you know what, like, this is freaking awesome, this is amazing, right? But he's trying to tempt the dragon and saying, but try to lift my little basket, it's really, really heavy, because she put a whole bunch of stuff and stones in it, but they're like just the acorns right on the top, right? So the dragon really grabbed this, like, I mean, quickly, and said, okay, sure, I'm going to make this trade-off. So the squirrel was able to kind of like jump and kind of like grab that acorn. In the end, kind of like, it's kind of like really wondering, because in that kind of like exchange, I think this also trampled, and everybody kind of like lost kind of like their advantage which they had, right? So it was like all about some kind of contest that was happening, and they were trying to get ahead. So Squirrel is disqualified for cheating, and you know, Kelly also, which was the name of the dragon in the story, was also kind of like feeling, you know, hey, you know, I was trying to do a good thing, but again, I didn't appreciate what I have. So it really tells me that like something talking about trying times, right? It It could be that you have been disappointed, that you were asking for some kind of assistance, but you know, maybe it didn't happen. And things can be really easier if you ask for help. So it's going to be really interesting and important that you select people who can actually guide you towards certain goals. There's like also something about the truth, right? Your truth or the truth, something that can be built upon, because it all started with building up, right? So we had a 1 and 9, and then we have a 1 and 9 over here. Like something is ending in tears because of a reason. So what kind of trying times have been here? The truth will set you free kind of guys, right? There is like some kind of like manipulation over here that I'm picking up, and there's like something that needs to be said, which I can see here. So don't be afraid to tell the truth, and it's going to be probably easier. There's like a situation that I'm picking up that you're going to find yourself in a pickle, and the truth really needs to be told. Interestingly also, that we do have this pentacle, that we do have something that has been built kind of like a long term, but it's only a lonely pentacle, and it's pentacle ending up in cups and ending up in swords, right? So it could be some kind of scarcity or holding on possessions or trying to be very controlling while at the same time feeling really vulnerable. There is a lots of things in the reading. I mean, you have another pentacle too, so it's almost like the whole reading, everything here is like what is happening between these two pentacles, between 1 and 2. It's kind of like really hard to move forward, right? They're like accusing others, there are hidden motives, but there's also quite a bit about coming out clean. Be very careful about the greed of this squirrel. If this kind of like comes to you, if this is you, or if this is somebody who is treating you this way, it's really, really important to kind of like address it, right? Here, that I see also 9 and 2, which is again coming to your card 11, Justice. I see the card Isolation. So you're going to feel that you're on your own. Like it's kind of like quite a bit of things will be in your thought. You'll be reading somebody else's action as malicious. So it's going to be simply interpretation, and it's going to start to feel a little, how to put it, maybe frozen, right? So this is also about self-protection. I guess we have this sword just to add to it here as well, right? But this can also talk about making excuses. And so as much as I could see here, like the need for truth, the need for honesty, because there is some juggling, there are some issues, there are certain things that are not gelling, there are not certain things that are gluing. So there are some kind of experiences that you have been going through that you're going into self-protection mode, right? But there is like a huge need to take action, because most signs from what I've seen this month are going to get over this hurdle of the night of this full moon and the Mercury retrograde, in a sense that it's gone kind of a thing. With you, I feel that you could have dealt with certain things that maybe karmically had to deal. Instead, it looks to me that you have been sidetracked. You have been sidetracked with really sweet things. There's somebody coming through, or maybe even a couple of suitors. They're like really good things happening over here, flirting and everything. But all of a sudden, something happens. Something happens, and it could be around that 9th, the full moon time, where, you know, proverbial poo-poo hits the fan. And you will react to it. I need to think about it. I need to see how do I do with this. And again, my advice is, if something like this happens to you, try to enlist help from the others, because they'll be really, really good at that. Another thing that I really want to say is, guys, try to get also the reading for your moon sign and for your ascendant to get more information. So now I have 2 readings in a row from you, almost like saying the same thing. And so clearly there's like some message from either Libra or Libra cross watcher that I'm getting. It will be good to get your feedback, your thoughts on this. What is this all going on? Is somebody doesn't want to commit, or are you dealing with somebody who is maybe otherwise not he or she didn't clear their own issues and it's now upsetting you, or could this be like work situation, or worse yet, the legal situation? It's all kind of like possibilities are on the table. And lastly, guys, if you really want to get your own situation, please contact me for the reading, kattarot.ca. Always pleasure to even chat with you. Glad to hear from you. And hopefully you're going to check the other things, ascendant and your moon sign, to get the fuller picture in the meantime. So wish you all the best. Have a wonderful month. Ensure that this is just the one hurdle in the road. It's not like something that's going to happen forever. So put things in perspective, guys, and the best way for you to move forward is the way of truth. I love you. All the best. Sapphy's not feeling well. I'm just trying to cheer you up. I'm trying to cheer you up. So say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Say to everybody, love you, love you. Love you, love you. Okay. Yes. And there she goes. There she goes. There she goes. There she goes.